Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us at 7. I'm Tracey McCain.
I'm Nuclo. You're watching Eyewitness News here on the Wax. We appreciate that. Let's get right to your forecast. Get you ready to head out the door. Meteorologist Scott Gagliardi is in with the details. Hey, good morning, Scott.
Good morning.
You look so chipper.
I feel pretty chipper.
Yeah.
I love Thursdays.
Thursdays are good.
Thursday's a good day.
Yeah.
I looked in the almanac, so I'm a big almanac guy.
Okay.
You're going to love this statistic, or maybe not.
Okay.
The last time that we saw a rain-free weekend was February 22nd.
Wow.
It was all of May, all of April, and all of March. We saw rain each weekend. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Wild. And then the week before that in February, I think it was 15, 16, it snowed. So the last time we saw a rain-free weekend was cold enough to snow. Unbelievable. This weekend, no different. We're going to see some of that rain on Saturday. It's our first alert weather day. Right now, we're dealing with a few clouds, some mist and drizzle out there as well. Notice even, especially along the shoreline, there's an area of low pressure well to the south developing. So don't be surprised if even you see a few showers closer towards I-95. Temperatures, 50s to near 60, were quite mild, but they don't climb that much today. We should end up in the mid-70s. We'll end up today in the mid-60s. Notice to the south of Connecticut, here's where an area of low pressure is developing. It'll head off to the north and east, though. We'll end up seeing some clearing late day today. First alert futurecast shows that area of low pressure pushing off towards the east. We're watching, though, another area of low pressure. This comes in just in time for the weekend. It rains in the morning, throughout the afternoon, and then the possibility of some maybe thunderstorms later on our Saturday. That's when we have our first alert weather day. We'll go into more detail about this ahead in less than 10. Good morning, Kate.
All right, good morning, Scott. Good morning, everyone. 7:02 here on your Thursday morning. If you're just waking up with us on the Wax, we do appreciate that. Not doing too bad across the majority of the state. If you're getting ready to head out, head to work, bring the kids to school or the bus stop, still maybe a little bit of that fog hanging tough here. You can see 95 north and southbound in New Haven right by East Street. So a little bit of reduced visibility, but those road conditions aren't terrible. Still some damp conditions, as you can see here in Tallinn. This is left over from earlier this morning, 84 east and westbound. Here's a look, maybe a little bit of that fog still hanging tough in Waterbury and 84, but shouldn't impact your commute too much. Live look here in Meriden along 691 and in Middletown along Route 9. Again, those roads a little damp out there, but shouldn't slow you down tremendously as you're getting ready to head out. No crashes, no major incidents, no construction right now. Daytime work picks up between about 8:30 and 9 o'clock. We are seeing some delays, though, as we're approaching that 2-hour ride, 95 southbound towards the George Washington Bridge. That's a quick check at your Connecticut Chevy First Alert traffic report, driven by your Connecticut Chevy dealers.
Well, in just a few hours, shoppers will be allowed to return to Brass Mill Center Mall for the first time since that mass shooting there earlier this week.
5 people were hurt. A 19-year-old now facing multiple charges. Your reporter Roger Suzanne is in Waterbury this morning live to explain what's being done to make sure folks feel safe if they go back to the mall today.
Good morning, ladies. And yeah, there is a lot going on right now. First and foremost, I can tell you the first business connected to the mall just opened up, the IHOP. An employee walked in. I spoke to her briefly off camera. She is getting ready now to go back to work. There's also a delivery truck here. But the truth is that police are stressing the fact that the mall is safe, they say, because this was not a random crime, and the man they say is responsible for this attack is now behind bars. In fact, that suspect appeared in court for the first time yesterday. Police say 19-year-old Taywan Washington is responsible, and they can prove it, they say, through surveillance video that he opened fire and shot 5 people. Now, Washington's lawyer admits he shot up the mall, but argues it was in self-defense and that a mob of people was threatening to jump him. But investigators say Washington was only arguing with one man and that he was not justified when he whipped out a pistol and started shooting. 1 man and 4 women were hurt. All those victims are in their teens or their 20s. 2 people suffered serious injuries, including 1 woman who was shot in the spine. But incredibly, they are all expected to survive. Governor Ned Lamont is glad the crime was not random, but says it's sad that teenagers are apparently willing to throw their lives away and put others in peril.
But I really worry. These are folks that know each other. They have a beef. Used to be you do this if you had a beef. Now you do this, and that's dangerous.
Washington is locked up right now on a $2 million bond. He faces a whole bunch of serious charges. Now, here at the mall, the businesses will open up at 10 a.m. Walkers are actually allowed to go in at 9. And again, that IHOP that's connected to the mall just opened minutes ago. We are live in Waterbury this morning. I'm your reporter, Roger Suzanne, in Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
All right, Roger, thank you. On that same note here, members of the Waterbury community are vowing now to do their part to end the violence. A number of religious leaders spoke up about the shooting during a vigil last night, saying everyone must come forward to move forward.
The pain is real. the fear, the frustration, it's real. And yet, our faith, it's real.
Amen. Well, they're saying more needs to be done to provide resources and support the young people in the city.
Right now, reaction is coming into President Trump's pardoning of former Connecticut Governor John Rowland.
Your reporter Marcy Jones shares how leaders from both political parties and Rowland feel about the decision.
Even though it's been 20 years since former Governor John Rowland was in office and he had to resign during his third term, his record no longer reflects those scandals. After pleading guilty to accepting gifts and favors from state contractors back in 2004, Rowland served 10 months in prison and several months under house arrest. A decade later, Rowland was found convicted of election fraud and obstruction of justice and was sentenced to 30 months in prison. The former governor issued a statement saying, quote, "I am very humbled and deeply appreciative. I have been blessed with the wonderful family and friends that have been through a great deal over the years. This is a wonderful final resolution." Leaders from both political parties in our state have been giving their statements on this pardon. On one hand, the Republicans are praising the move. On the other hand, Democrats are saying they're less than thrilled. Your reporter in Hartford, Marcy Jones, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Right now, state lawmakers are considering voting on a one-year budget with less than a week left in the legislative session. The two-year budget process has been in place for more than 30 years. But state leaders say last-minute adjustments are needed after giving pay raises to nursing home workers. The governor is considering reducing proposed increases for education and municipal aid to make up for that gap. Well, this morning, one of the two suspects charged in the strangling death of a New London teenager 2 years ago is weighing a plea deal. Erica Cherry has been offered a 15-year suspended sentence after serving 2 or 5 years. The victim's family is asking for a harsher punishment. The other suspect has not been offered a plea deal. Both are due back in court in July.
Right now in Meriden, the health department is urging pet owners to make sure their pets are vaccinated and that their vaccines are up to date after a rabid raccoon attacked a dog. Pinpoint News Tracker showing you where it happened right near Elliott Street and Cook Avenue. Officials say the dog was fully vaccinated. Well, this morning, classes will be held as usual at Kennedy High School in Waterbury after a fight broke out there yesterday. 11 students are now facing criminal charges and suspension. Police say no weapons were involved. The school nurse treated several students for minor injuries.
This morning, we've learned that a Rhode Island man will serve 13 months in prison for causing a deadly crash in North Stonington 4 years ago. James Pont received a 3-year suspended sentence. He was convicted in February of negligent homicide with a motor vehicle. Investigators say he crossed into the wrong lane on Pendleton Hill Road and collided head-on with an oncoming vehicle.
Right now, a passenger on a flight out of Bradley International Airport is in custody after officials say he attacked a flight attendant. Prosecutors say Julius Jordan Priester of Kansas pushed the flight attendant out of her seat and tried to drag her up the aisle. Other passengers intervened, thank goodness. The flight returned to Bradley and the suspect arrested. He's due in court tomorrow. Well, this morning, President Trump is facing new questions about his economic policies after a federal court ruled he overstepped his authority when he imposed sweeping tariffs. This order applies to his 10% tariffs on most trade partners and earlier tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China. The court said the emergency powers law that he relied on does not apply here. And the president argues the U.S. trade deficit amounts to an emergency and is now appealing that ruling.
Well, this morning, Elon Musk is leaving his role as a top advisor to President Trump. He led the White House's efforts to scale back the size of the government. His announcement comes just one day after he criticized the president's sweeping domestic policy bill. And this morning, just a heads up here, if you plan to help retrieve the flags from thousands of grave sites at State Veterans Cemetery in Middletown over the weekend, that is being postponed until next Saturday, June 7th, because of the chance for rain. Flags cannot be retrieved in the rain because they could be damaged.
Well, let's hope by June 7th we see a weekend that doesn't feature rain. We're going to be seeing it once again this weekend. Right now, we're seeing some pretty dreary conditions out there. Notice a live look in Old Saybrook. Plenty of clouds, some mist and drizzle even being reported right along the immediate shoreline. Temperatures as you head out to work or school, 50s to near 60, which is a bit above average. But throughout the day today, we keep this easterly wind right now anywhere from 5 to about 15 miles per hour right along the shoreline. And that locks in cooler temperatures in terms of where we should be. We should be at 75, likely climbing into the upper half of the 60s. Your chance for wet paws is medium today, considering all the rain that we've had over the past 12 hours. Tomorrow, chance of a sprinkle, but Saturday, that's our first alert weather day for some heavy rain, maybe even a few storms. We'll go into more detail about exactly what you can expect and when, as well as a warm-up on the way. That's ahead with your full first alert forecast. Kate?